Oh, hello. I'm Vivian Bolus, Chief Spokesman of the Rotten Elements. They've asked me to read to you a letter from Ian Birchall, long-time SWP member and author of a book on Jean-Paul Sartre, to Andy Wilson. Here it goes. Dear Andy, I'm sorry if you found my comments at Lenin's tomb too touchy. I think what I was responding to was not just the comments you made there, but something you had written at Socialist Unity a few weeks back. I'm quoting from memory because I don't have the time or the spirit to go through the files of FCSU. If I'm misrepresenting you, my sincere apologies. There is no value in debating with a misrepresentation of what someone has said. You said something to the effect that Socialist Review had never produced anything of value in the way of cultural commentary. That, of course, would include the works of Paul Foot and David Widgery, both of whom, with respect, were better and more insightful writers than you are. Of course, I should have responded to that at the time, but it probably explains why I reacted so irritably to your mild comments. I'd attach my review of Ben's book. It's not online because we're still trying to sell back issues of RH. For the record, I offered to review the book for International Socialism, but John Rees declined the offer on the grounds that the book was incomprehensible. That probably confirms your view of the SWP response to Ben, but I think it's not so much a conspiracy of silence as the fact that Ben often makes things difficult for himself by his style and his aggressive reproach. I would agree with you that Ben has produced some very interesting ideas, and I hope I give some recognition of this in the review. In fact, I corresponded with Ben for a number of years, starting with comments on his Zappa book. The exchanges were often sharp and polemical, but I found them very useful in terms of clarifying my own ideas, and I presume Ben found them useful in some way because he persisted with them. This came to an end basically because of what I call in the review Ben's Leviasite terrorist approach. Anyone who does not share his aesthetic judgments is damned morally as well as aesthetically. In particular, Ben wrote a very hostile review of my book on Sartre in Radical Philosophy. I really don't want to fall into the stereotype of the hypersensitive author who is sulking because someone has been rude about his book. But Ben's review made a number of gross misrepresentations of Sartre which showed that he hadn't bothered to read the book in full. He also argued that the logic of my position was for me to become a Blairite, and that I was too stupid to realise this. I found the review unfair and dishonest, and for the time being it unfortunately put an end to any dialogue. Perhaps this explains the tone of my comments at LT. This, I find, is one of the problems with blog comments. The pressure is always for a quick response rather than a considered reaction. If you take a couple of days to think about something, then the debate has vanished into the mists of time. Now I am in touch with... Can I ask you something else, Andy? As you may know, I am writing Tony Cliff's biography. Obviously, I'm writing from the perspective that Cliff's contribution was overwhelmingly positive. I wouldn't be bothering to do it if I didn't think that. But I don't want to write hagiography, and I am anxious to incorporate different and critical perspectives. Would you be willing to be interviewed at some point? I know you have views on what is positive and negative within the IS tradition. Also, if I recall aright, Cliff was directly involved with your expulsion. I'd be very interested to do an interview with you on your recollections. It needn't take very long. All best wishes, Ian.